On this episode of Buff's Garage, I've got to get Fred the little farm truck ready for duct tape drags. But first I've got to get him steering, doing road stuff. Steering, brakes, all that. This is going to be a several part series only because there's so much to do to make him roadworthy and safe for the drag strip. So hang on, Fred's about to get an overhaul. So on the last episode, you saw Fred the little farm truck go from 4-cylinder to 8-cylinder. And that video did pretty good. I'm pretty proud of that video and this little farm truck. But now we got to get it roadworthy. So, if you remember correctly, this is the clutch pedal, which we don't need with our 904 automatic. We have no brake, no gas pedal, no firewall or floor. All those things should probably be fixed, I guess. Also no seat. There's the old seat, been well used as a farm truck. Just this half. Of course, I'd like to be able to put the hood back on it. That's probably asking too much, but you never know, we could try. But my biggest concern, besides making the brake pedal and gas pedal and all that work, is actually making sure we have real brakes. But if you also notice, there's no steering column, no steering rack. In fact, here's the old steering rack right here. We got to make some measurements, come up with some ideas, and see if we can't get Fred the little farm truck running, driving, stopping, and steering again. Here at Danny's U-Pull in Tulsa, Oklahoma, looking for some parts to fit the old Fred the farm truck. Obviously, they're not going to have a 66 Datsun, but we already pulled all those parts out, so we know that's not going to work for us. Instead, we need to find some kind of manual steering rack, maybe even a column, and just look around and see what else I can find. I'd like to find a radiator, but that might be hard to do. I've reached out to a couple of companies to find a radiator, that might fit from like cold case or something like that. And so far they haven't gotten back to me, so let's see if we can find something here. 2007 Malibu. If it's manual and not electric, we might be in business. Yeah, it's got a bent arm, but you can fix that. Let me do some research and figure it out. All the steering racks have been pulled out of most of these already, so this might be a hard one to find. There's an 03 Geo tracker. I think we might have found something that could work. Oh no, it's power. Dang it. I'd prefer not to have power steering. But that column's nice. That column's a nice setup. Take a look at that a little further. Yeah, that wouldn't be that hard to pull. We shall keep looking. So unfortunately I have wandered into the Mustang section and feel my IQ dropping as I'm standing here. But yeah, not a lot of vehicles had manual rack and pinion steering. And even less so, they're not in this place. So I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to find that diamond in the rough. I'm going to find that holy grail of rack and pinion that not only has no power steering, or electric steering for that point, but it's also easily accessible and I can actually fit it in the truck. There you go, need a Thunderbird. So many Mustangs looking for a crowd. Maybe this one already found one, that's why it's here. Quiet down, I'm trying to shoot. Was Kevin from Junkyard Digs here? I think he has a truck like that. Folded in half. Now see, this one is convenient. It's already out. It would take almost nothing to get the bolts out. but it has those lines. That means it is powered. And while that would be nice and comfortable and convenient, it would be a pain in the tail to fit where I need it to fit. Now let's be clear, I don't really want to run a power steering pump. Engine space is kind of a premium right now, and it's not what I want to do. Can I run an electric pump? Yes. Could I try to find electric steering? Sure, but now that's more effort than I want to really make. Simple steering shaft, simple connection, rack and pinion steering, gets it up and out of the way, tight little package, perfect. That's what we need. So I'm gonna keep looking. That's pretty cool to Saver, 3800. Look at that, that's brand new alternator. Those are brand new coil packs. Yep. Some good parts left on this car. I don't need them, but there they are. Here's a 90s car. Is this a Honda? This is kind of what I'm looking for, but this one had the optional power, so not helpful. Thought for sure I might hit the jackpot, but in fact I did not. Not only does this one have a pump, it's already out, but the lines are still there, so no luck. This one probably has electric steering, but the sizes are right. Tiny, miniature. That's what we're going for. Holy moly, that thing is tight in there. I don't need that. So it's likely gonna have power steering. Yep, if it does. We're getting in the right era at least. This guy didn't make it. When the headlights get all milky and clouded up like that, just go easy on them with the buffer, or they end up looking like that. Got a little hot. Now after looking at this, it's a little wide, but I like how it mounts on the crossmember there. Unfortunately, it's powered steering, and well, we know with these cars, it's going to constantly turn into a crowd. So we don't want any danger of ramming somebody or plowing into a crowd. So we're going to skip that one. Finally, they got some old iron in here. Oh my goodness! Recover those seats; those would be nice. Wow, that's cool. Look at all the bins. Got drawers. That's cool by itself. Alright, I've been looking around and pretty much everything is either hydraulic or electric powered steering, and most of the electric powered steering has it built into the rack. This one is not. Apparently the electrical part is in the dash. Now my big question is, can I make this operate without having hydraulic or electric power? It looks to be a sealed rack, but if so, we might have found one that we can use. Well, I put the call out on Instagram, Facebook, all that, and you guys are telling me that 80s Honda is the way to go for the manual steering rack. They don't have anything that old here, and I can continue to look. I can go on Marketplace. I could really dive down that rabbit trail and try to find just the right thing, or I can find something and make it work. I'm kind of leaning towards that latter category. So I'm going to keep looking a little bit longer, and if nothing jumps out, probably going to go back and get that steering rack out of the Saturn. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But we got to try. We got to come up with something, because I need to be driving that thing around. This is a Geo tracker. I really like this cute little setup. Unfortunately, it is powered, which we could put a power steering pump on the 318. I mean, it's cute. It would definitely bolt up and we could use it. 03 tracker. So here's another Ion. A little bit different vehicle, but it has the same setup. So I assume we're going to see something under the dash that explains how it works. Oh yeah, Right there. Yeah, so electricity turns your wheel. You know, that doesn't steer too bad even without electricity. Granted, it's not really hooked to anything. I don't know, we might have to make one of those work. That thing is clean. Wow. Smells like the 90s. Well, the question is, why did I choose this vehicle? It seems kind of new and probably not the right fit for what we need. However, I did all the research, and by that I mean I spent about 20 minutes on Google and realized that if you're not a 1980s or even like early 90s Honda, Toyota, something like that, probably not going to find a small rack and pinion that's manual that would fit in a 66 Datsun. Rather than spend all my time looking on Marketplace and researching, I just decided to walk the junkyard and see what I could find. I like taking stuff that people are getting rid of and putting it to use. So I found that this particular year uses this manual steering rack, but then powers it under the dash with an electronic assist. Well, that's already been removed for us. All we've got is the manual part. Do I think it'll work? Maybe. Do I think I can make it fit? Absolutely. And why did I choose this particular one and maybe not another one? Because it's already disconnected everywhere that it needs disconnected from. So we really have 2 bolts. This thing's out and I'm on my way. There we go, 2 bolts later. And we've got a relatively simple setup that we might be able to modify and make work. If not, anybody that needs a 2004 Saturn Vue steering rack, I've got one. Let's see how it goes. There you go. All right, I came back to the Geo Tracker simply because it's got a lot of different joints and components for making a steering column. And while I don't want the steering rack because it's hydraulic, I might be able to get all these knuckles and stuff out, maybe even the whole steering column, and I don't know, make that work. Let me work on taking a few bolts loose and I'll show you what I'm working on. And just like that, we've got a steering column that may or may not work, but I know it fits the stuff that I've already grabbed. So we're going to try to make it all work together. Science, ingenuity, creativity, all comes together to make one ridiculously stupid truck that's going to be awesome. Oh, I almost forgot. See, got to cover that rust spot right there. There we go. Until next time, Geo Tracker and Saturn Vue, wherever you went. Back in the shop with the parts from the pick and pull, and so far nothing stands out as absolutely won't fit. I think the steering column may not work. Let's test it real quick. This is the Datsun steering wheel because the Tracker didn't have a steering wheel. Oh, dang it. We got mismatch there. So the Datsun center is bigger around than the Geo Tracker. We might have to get an adapter or make one if we can find a steering wheel for a Geo / Chevy Tracker. But you know what? The column might work. And if not, we can still go look for a column if this one won't fit. I haven't figured out where I want to put it through the firewall yet, so that determines where it's going to land in the truck. Here's where the process slows dramatically, because anybody can shove a big engine in a little truck, but making it actually function and work is a lot harder. We've proven that we can hook up the rear end and it'll work for now until we blow it up, but can we make it steer? So somewhere along here we're gonna have to punch a hole through the firewall, because I want this to sit over a ways. It's gonna have to not interfere with the pedal, because that's our clutch pedal that is now a brake pedal. And then over here somewhere we're gonna have to locate a gas pedal. So once I kind of figure out the angles, because I would like this thing to fit about where the old one did. I may end up cutting that bracket off. I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's what I know. We'll figure it out. Now with that, we got all these extra little pieces to hopefully make that column fit onto here. We may need to scab a little bit more on each end. Hopefully we don't want to add any more of these little joints. I know that this side fit on the Geo, and I got that little coupler piece that fits on here. It also fits that column. I think we have enough to get something going, and with this steering rack I'll see if I can't mock that into place and see where it's going to land. Now the original steering box was clear up here, and the pitman arm and all of the steering linkage then dropped way back here, which was going to interfere with our engine. I have engine where the steering should be. So with my attachment points here for my steering, I was thinking, oh, that boot's kind of worn out. I should have noticed that. That we could drop those in. If these are too big, I can always change these arms out to something smaller. But we'll drop those in and they'll be at a slight angle. I might have to take that out too. We'll just replace it with something else, or we'll move it to the back side. Might have to adjust where this is too, because it might be in the way. But everything fits tightly. We'll get our steering mocked up in here. This might work. And for those of you shouting at the camera to just go find an 80s Honda Civic or a Mustang II, yeah, I hear you. Those weren't available to pick and pull, and I wanted to get this done quickly. Well, I kind of opened things up to get a look and see how I could make stuff fit. I thought maybe I needed to take the tie rod end off of the old one and make it fit the new one. Unfortunately, those are pretty much seized on. The other issue is this rack and pinion steering I got is just a little bit too long. Even with all these extra threads, it's a little too long to fit side to side on the truck. So I've got this square tubing here, kind of mocking it up to see how this rack's gonna fit. I haven't decided if I'm gonna bolt it to that or if I'm gonna cut some notches in there and recess the tabs in there and then drill through. I don't know yet. But I can tell you I'm going to make it myself, and we're going to fit it in there, and we're going to have this thing steering. My hair is kind of all over the place. But I was up late last night working on all this stuff, trying to figure out how I'm going to make this fit under here and actually function as it should. Also, this is the old steering column. There wasn't much holding that center bar in place there. I ended up cutting it off of the steering box, and that's where the support bearing was, at the bottom of the rod, because there's no support bearing inside that tube. Plus it doesn't collapse, so that's always fun when you maybe hit the wall going too fast. Anywho, I did find this old GM tilt column I had laying around in the Firebird. I thought, well, maybe I can try to use that. So I started to look into how that thing's put together. I haven't ruled it out yet. I might still be able to make it fit. But most of all, I've really been looking at this Geo column to see if I can make it fit. I like it. It fits around the mounts here the way I need them to. I need to cut that other mount off because we're not going to be able to use it. Man, my hair is just everywhere. But I hit that wall yesterday where it was, okay, It's just impossible to move forward without taking 10 steps back. So what do? I jump on to do something little and accomplish it. So here's what I got done. I got this at a sale. It is an actual B&M shifter. Just need a knob for it. I could probably find one of those. And I lubed the heck out of it and got it working. I just need to get a shift cable. I went ahead and mounted some gauges up. Yeah, I know most people don't care about trans temp, but with my luck, I went ahead and installed that. I just got to run it down to my transmission, but I'm going to change out the hard lines to different lines, go to a cooler, and with that, we're going to put our sensor in for the transmission gauge. And then, you know, typical oil, water temp, voltage, those are all important. When I pulled the dash out, it was pretty dirty, as you could imagine, being a farm truck. So not much of it is going to get reused, but I do want to try to reuse the speedometer and maybe even the turn signal lights. Unfortunately, it's all deteriorated on the back side, but that is an actual piece of glass. That is not plastic through there. And so I hit it with the polisher and buffed it up, and it looks really good. With the hackery that is the Datsun, you would think we would change the term buffed up to being something good to something really, really bad. But in this case, I think it's going to turn out really good, redeeming the term buffed up. Because our Edelwalk is leaking fresh out of the box, I broke down and bought an actual Edelbrock. But everybody loves the Datsun truck, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to do something that I'm going to have fun with, but you guys love also. And so far, so good. The video's doing good. Let's keep that momentum going on this one. Let's get this one steering, doing burnouts, and just being all around fun little Datsun go-kart. Now, the last time you saw the Datsun, I was letting the metal fly, not only to cut out the opening for the engine, but of course to build a drive shaft. But now we got to build some kind of mounting system for this rack and pinion steering. And I'm reading your comments, and quite frankly, you're saying this thing's going to taco. It's going to fold in half, or twist, or whatever, right? It's a big engine in a little truck. The frame of this thing is actually really stout, but I understand what you're trying to say. You're trying to say, hey, this thing's not going to hold up. So in an effort to build a mounting point, hey spider, build a mounting point for the rack and pinion and stiffen up the frame a little bit, I'm going to build this cross member out of this 2x2 square tubing. It's relatively thick stuff. Oh my god, it's heavy. It's in my pile. We're going to use it. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is determine the width I want to go. So let's measure under the truck here. From outside frame rail to outside frame rail, we're looking at 27 inches. Mark that. Now with this, I kind of want to use the technique I used with my 63 Pontiac, which is I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and then I'm going to cut some lines across this way to free it up from the outside edge, cut in triangles, and then bend them down, creating mounting tabs with the leftover metal, and then weld the rest together, and triangles create strength. So I think it'll work, rather than just mounting a piece of square tubing underneath. It worked before holding the transmission in that other car. I think it'll work to hold this lightweight aluminum steering here. So I guess I gotta get to cutting. Did you ever forget you have a tool? Like when I was cutting this drive shaft, why didn't I have this tool and actually cut it straight? Because I forgot I owned it. I was so used to not having it, but it sure would have been nice to use when I did the drive shaft. That stuff's heavy duty. Now for those making fun of me last week about not wearing the proper PPE. You can't really see through this, but I do have a face shield. We'll see if I can do this without actually having to see anything. One of these days I'm going to get a fabrication table. And I should be able to weld all that together, and it should be fairly strong, and that part would be done. Whoa, that is hot. Anyway, one step down on strengthening the frame and mounting up this steering that I still am not convinced is going to work. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some tack welds while it's still hot. Maybe I'll penetrate. A little bit. That'll work. Use the grinder, you'll never even know. Well guys, I'm in the middle of the Datsun trying to get it to steer. I've got all the parts laid out and I am desperately trying to get this thing put back together so I can take it for a spin. But I just got an urgent text from Dalton. He's out at PBG West, Pole Barn Garage West, and he needs help. So half a day late, Brian, do you think we can still do something?
I guarantee you we can do something.
Falkenstein officially made it all the way to Joliet, Illinois, Route 66 Raceway. I'm on power tour. And just like that, I am back from New Mexico. I have painted Falkenstein. I have went to power tour. It's kind of windy today. And now I'm back on Fred the Little Farm Truck. But I didn't come back empty-handed. So I read all of the suggestions and comments from the last video, and I just happened to have somebody that I know that has a Mustang II that they're selling for parts. So I picked one up, and that should give us more than enough to perfect the front end on this truck. I know I wanted to just kind of do it myself. We can use that Mustang II and all of its parts, give me disc brakes, give me rack and pinion steering, just make it a little bit more stable, easier to find parts for. It'll be able to handle everything I throw at it. I picked up this Ford Mustang II, which you could see at Pole Barn Garage. This is not the good one that he sold. This was the parts car that he used and stole the engine out of. And I just want the steering out of it. But it may have a few other parts that I can pillage along the way. Oh look, carburetor. The seats aren't great, but they exist. I'd like to still use Fred's seat just, you know, because it's Fred's seat. But maybe for racing we'll put one of these in. This car is not great, so I don't want to hear anybody say you should put that car back on the road. It's more work than I want to do. T-tops are cool. Anyway, let me measure some stuff and see if anything's even going to fit. Well, let's see here. It's really close. So the inside of the Datsun is 21. I think it's close enough to make it work. We'll just have to do a little bit of fabrication, which I learned fabrication at Puddin's Fab Shop. I wouldn't say I'm any good at it, but I watched how he did it. And, you know, you learn by doing. So I think I need to do. All right, let me make room in the shop and we'll pull this in and start pulling the front end out. And pretty much anything else we need. There was one thing I wanted to check on this car, you know, before I completely scrap it. I think this is the longest point. 28 inches. Yep. Okay, let's go look. Nope. It doesn't quite fit on old Fred. Oh, I have another idea. Back off of the adventure of the power tours, getting painted, and even going to New Mexico. It's Falkenstein. It's perfect. Somebody's getting T-tops. But not this episode. That'll be in another episode. You guys asked for it. I made it happen. Get your Falkenstein merch at buffsgarage.com. We've got shirts, we've got stickers, we've even got a shirt sticker bundle. So check that out, get your orders in. Everything is available as of July 1 and shipping out maybe in time for 4th of July. Can't guarantee it, but that'll be a lot of freedom on your shirt. So check it out, buffsgarage.com. Let's get back to work. What a mess I left. Okay, I said I needed to clean up before I could get back to this truck. And I wasn't kidding. Not only is the truck a mess, still not driving, still not steering, but I don't really have room to bring in the Mustang II and disassemble it. So I think what I need to do is get this truck out of here, clean all this area up, bring the Mustang II in, drop everything out from underneath of it, haul the carcass back out. We'll cut it up later and maybe do some mods to Falkenstein and, you know, any other car that we deem fit. We will be like hunters and we will use every part of the carcass. That way nothing's wasted. I know this episode was meant to have this thing driving down the road and steering and doing all those things, but just too much happened that led us to this point. And rather than carry on with this video any longer, I'm going to say we're coming back with the next episode where I'm actually going to drop all the steering and everything out of the Mustang II, leave it here in the shop, then bring the Datsun in and just put it up in place. Surely that'll work, right? Sorry I couldn't fit it into this video, but there was just too much going on. I hope you enjoyed watching Buff's Garage. Stay tuned because we got more on Fred the Little Farm Truck coming up. Now where did I put my wrench? This place really is a mess. Be sure to watch Puddin's Fab Shop where I just spent the last week, and of course watch Pole Barn Garage where we took a wagon from Kansas City down to Oklahoma City where Puddin is at, and then we thrashed on an El Camino that truly, honestly, didn't deserve the effort we put into it, but man, it turned out killer, and you're only going to see that on Pole Barn Garage. So yeah, tire roasting Fred the Little Farm Truck. Stay tuned. He's coming back. Also, be watching for the new channel, Buff's Adventures. That's the second channel. I'm trying to get this channel to grow, but I've got so much content on the non-car side that I've been kind of accidentally capturing. So I thought I'm going to make that available on the second channel. Heck, it might do better than the first channel. Who knows? But be watching for it. Buff's Adventures. I'll put the link down in the description. Make sure you stay tuned. Videos are a-coming. Thanks for watching.